Welcome to Secret London with me, Mark Monroe, and today we're doing all things small. So I'm going to take you to London's smallest house, then to London's smallest street, followed by London's smallest church, and then finally we're going to end up at London's smallest square. And we're going to do it all in London's smallest taxi. This is London's smallest taxi. It's a 6-seater, fully electric. Actually, we're not going to do it in this taxi. I forgot the keys. We'll do it in the big one. Let's go. I've made my way to Hyde Park Place, which is on the north side of Hyde Park. Marble Arch is just up there. And behind me here, at number 10 Hyde Park Place, is London's smallest house. Now, the house itself didn't always look like this. After the 1940s, it was integrated into the Tyburn Convent next door, so it took on this cylindrical red brick type of appearance. But when it was first constructed in 1805, it took on the appearance of a traditional terraced house, just like the one in the photo. The theory behind the construction of London's smallest house goes like this. Between this building and the convent there was an alleyway. Now that alleyway led to the graveyard of St George's Fields behind me. The house was built here in order to stop body snatchers creeping down the alleyway and carrying out their grisly deeds. The door of the original house was here, and it just opened up into the alleyway, and above it was just a small bedroom and a bathroom. That's all the construction of the house comprised of. The house itself is a whopping 3 foot 6 inches wide. To be honest, I prefer it in its old terraced form. This moulding with the red brickwork into the convent makes it look as if, well, it's kind of not there really. And the traditional door before looked much better. Okay, next stop, London's smallest street. Let's make a move. Welcome to London's smallest street. This pretty little street in the West 1 district of London, just to the north of Oxford Street, is London's smallest thoroughfare. Now, the Crown, the king of the smallest thoroughfare in London, didn't used to belong to Candover Street. It belonged to Clenham Street in South East 1. But guess what? Clenham Street in 2010 became pedestrianised. And if you're pedestrianised, you can't be a thoroughfare anymore. So then Candover Street came in and grabbed the crown of the smallest street in London. Okay, so how small are you, Candover Street? Clenham Street was 85 feet long. Let's measure you. $135 feet. A little bit longer, but still pretty small. Okay, next stop, London's smallest church. I've made my way into the City of London, into the EC2 district. I'm here on Bishopsgate, and behind me is London's smallest church. is St Ethelburga's the Virgin, and she measures a whopping 56 feet high by 30 feet wide.
The church itself is a rare survival of the medieval city churches that were mostly destroyed during the Great Fire of London in 1666. The church was founded in the year 1250, and its tiny interior comprised of a nave and an aisle divided by an arcade. Although the initial church's structure was erected in the 13th century, most of the building dates back to the 15th century, when a small square bell turret was added and also a weather vane. The church's parish covered a modest 3 acres of land, and in order to raise revenue for the parish, a porch was constructed around the front entrance that housed 2 shops.
In the 1930s, Bishopsgate, this thoroughfare here, had to be widened, so the 2 shops at the front of the church had to be demolished. But they revealed this amazing facade that hadn't been seen by the public for centuries. At one point in the past centuries, St Ethelburga's the Virgin was the tallest structure here on Bishopsgate, but obviously it's now dwarfed by these huge financial skyscrapers, and it looks tiny.
As it happened, this tiny little church managed to stay mostly intact over the centuries, sustaining very little damage from the Great Fire of London, and avoided a direct hit during the Blitz of the Second World War. However, in 1993, its luck ran out when an IRA bomb exploded just 7 meters from its entrance, and sadly, St Ethelburga's was half destroyed. The Church of England proposed demolition, but following a public outcry, it was rebuilt, but much changed internally. St Ethelburga's is now no longer a functioning church, but serves as a centre for reconciliation and peace.
Right, next stop, London's smallest square. Now, I've made my way to St James's to uncover this smallest final curiosity of London on today's adventure. Now, you've got to head to St James's Street and then head south towards Pall Mall, because the smallest square in London is quite well hidden. Once you've arrived at Berry Brothers and Rudd, you're in the right place. The square is just down this little alleyway here. But a little bit about Berry Brothers and Rudd first. It's very interesting, venerable wine merchants. Underneath this shop are 2 acres of caves and storage facilities housing tens of thousands of bottles of wine. But it's also famous for another reason. Above this shop existed a small piece of the United States of America. The unusual tenant that resided above this shop between the years of 1836 and 1845 was actually the Embassy of the Republic of Texas. Yes, a little piece of America existed above this shop on St. James's Street. The Texas delegation left the building in 1845, leaving an outstanding rent bill of £160. But in 1986, a delegation returned, dressed in full buckskins, and repaid the debt of £160 to Berry Brothers. How cool is that? All that remains now is this wonderful plaque that serves to remind everyone that a little piece of America existed right here in St James's. So back to the smallest square in London. Just go past the little plaque on the wall, it says Pickering Place, and walk to the end of this little Tudor corridor. What an amazing entrance into London's smallest square.
The square was designed by Berry Brothers and Rudd in the 1700s, and its secluded location and dimly lit area made it a hotspot for gambling, prostitution and bear baiting. And with activities like this taking place, it's no wonder that Pickering Place was an area in which duels were fought. In fact, it's said that the very last duel in London took place right here. The well-known term pistols at dawn derives itself from when pistol duels were held to solve ongoing disputes between two parties. And because it was an illegal practice, these events were held at dawn when there weren't any authorities around.
It certainly was a confined space in order to stage a duel. If you took a direct hit here, it was definitely curtains. Unless it ricocheted off the sundial, of course. Thanks for watching Secret London with me, Mark Munro. More adventures of London coming soon, so stay tuned.